the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
It's a big, like probably the biggest stage in track and field, right? When did you? Was it always a dream? Was track and field something you discovered like in high school, or was it since you're a kid? How did it start?
Well, I think for me, track was one of the things I fell into because my mom she gave me the ultimatum of running track or swimming, because I was a little bit of a knucklehead kid, so I was always getting into trouble, and she didn't want me to be on any teams where I was like playing with other people. And so I always tell people, like, the joke for me was I didn't want to wear Speedos, so I chose track and field. Right. But as I began to run, I realized that it was something that I loved to do. It was, I tell everybody the track became my sanctuary. It was the place where everything just felt right. Yeah. I was in control of my own effort. I was in control of, what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, if I was going to do good or if I was going to do bad. And so I liked that because the rest of my life was kind of spinning out of control. And as I got better and better and better, I realized, okay, there's a future here potentially. But it was always a dream to make the Olympic team. I wouldn't say it became a reality until much, much later in my life.
Yes. Was there a moment, when you're training, you're putting in all this work? Was there a moment when you like realized, I'm actually capable of doing this thing? I'm actually capable of being the best? Like, what was that?
You realize it when you actually do it, when you actually accomplish it. Yeah, that's the hard part. I mean, I think it's always a dream, but the hurdles to getting even that last step of actually making it happen. You could be ranked number 2 in the world. You could go into the last event at the Olympic Games and be in the lead and still lose, right? And so it's really about like believing that you're going to make it, hoping that you're going to make it, having faith that you're going to make it, training and competing as if you've made it. But the reality of it doesn't actually hit until you've actually made it.
And like with every journey, right, there's has its peaks and valleys. So I'm sure you came across, your fair share of hurdles, everything you gotta, like, the struggles. So like, how did you persevere through those things?
I think you just have to have a bigger view of what's going on. You have to be looking at the whole picture from a higher point of view. I think if you look at the one loss or the one hurdle or the one injury or setback, it's really easy to get discouraged. But if you can take a step back and look at the big picture and understand that each hurdle is just one step closer to the goal that you're trying to hit, I think that helps keep you motivated. It allows you to understand the purpose behind maybe some of the things that you're experiencing. And it keeps you looking ahead as opposed to just looking, right at what you're going through at that given time.
And how would you say your faith played a role in your journey in this sport?
Yeah, my faith it was my foundation, right? And so I think when you're kind of faced with tough times, when you're faced with decisions that you're trying to figure out what's good or bad, when you're faced with how you're going to train and prioritize family and training and traveling and sponsors and all those types of things, you got to fall back on something. There's got to be something there that's a foundation for you to be able to make those decisions. And my faith is where I found all of those things, where I found the direction to make all of those decisions. So without it, who knows what path I would have gone down, but that kind of was my anchor that kept me on the right path to success.
And after winning gold in Beijing, so did you feel satisfied, or was it kind of like, on to the next thing? Like, how was it for you?
I think that's the tough part, right? Because as an athlete, you tend to not look at what you've just accomplished, and you tend to really focus on what's next. And so you don't really appreciate what you've been able to do or even enjoy what you were able to accomplish. And so it was, for me, after winning Beijing, you have a few minutes where you kind of sit back and you're like, wow, this is pretty amazing. But then you're right into training, moving on to the next thing. And I think that's the thing that every athlete at the end of their career has to kind of deal with and kind of come to grips with is looking at your career and understanding and trying to figure out, like, are you happy with what you've done? Is it good enough for you? And for me, I found that out after 2012. I had to realize, like, the things that I've accomplished had to be good enough for me. If they're not good good enough for me, then I'm gonna spend the rest of my life unhappy if I'm trying to please everybody else and try to make it good for everybody else. And so I got to a point to where, what I had accomplished was good enough for me. In my heart, I knew I was happy with it. I had done everything I wanted to do and more. And so because I was satisfied, I knew that it was okay for me to retire and hang it up. And I've been happy and never looked back since.
I run track. So, what kind of advice would you give to someone like me who's looking to compete on that kind of stage?
It's always hard to come up with any specific piece of advice, but I think that when you're looking at young people like yourself that are getting involved in a sport or want to be involved in a sport, I think understanding who you are and what your foundation is really important. Being really, really solid in what you believe and why you believe it. That's key, because that's what you're going to always come back to. And then the only other thing I would say is you need to surround yourself with good people. You got to find people that believe the same things you believe, that understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and you got to make sure that you surround yourselves with those people, because there are going to be times when you're halfway across the world and you're trying to figure out what to do, and you need to have somebody there that's going to be able to help you in those situations. And so I wouldn't be where I am today without the group, the support network that I had around me, and I still keep that same thing now, even when I'm not competing. I still have a group of people that surround me as I'm trying to figure out where to go, whether it's in business or as a dad or as a husband. But those people are there to kind of speak truth to me in times where things get a little gray or things get a little tough and I don't know which direction to turn.
One last question. So are you still out are you still involved in the track and field community? Still out there?
I don't do too much in the track and field community anymore. I'll help coach and stuff here and there if people ask. I'll do speaking, I'll do some philanthropy and things like that. But when it comes to being involved in the track and field community, I only do it if they ask. If they don't ask, I've got all my other things going on. My family is a huge priority. My faith is a huge priority, so we're really involved in our church. And other than that, I've got some businesses that I started, and so that takes my focus, and we'll try to make those things successful.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for the time.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, likewise.
Hi, I'm Bryan Clay, Olympic gold medalist.
And I'm Jude Klaproth, wannabe gold medalist.
And it's time to get in the game.